Alright, today we're going to be talking about the Salomon DRX Bliss.
I was just a young man. Oh, Lord. I did what I had to do. And I was just a young man. Oh, Lord.
Salomon is not really known for their road shoes, but over the last probably 6 years or so, I've been running in their road shoes here and there. And so I was actually interested to pick up the DRX Bliss and test them out, because it seems like they're really starting to put some effort into their road shoes. The DRX Bliss come in at $160, which according to a quick Google search shows that the average road shoe comes in at about $130. So these are a little bit more on the pricey end of road shoes. In terms of fit and sizing, these shoes are slightly too big. Salomon has had some issues in the past with having consistent sizing with all of their shoes, and I thought they had overcome that because I hadn't had any issues for at least 2 or 3 years. But unfortunately, these shoes were a little bit big. If I had known, I would have gone down a half size. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at these shoes, make sure to order a half size down if you're on that borderline. For me, road shoes, if they're a little bit big, as long as they're not clunky, which these shoes aren't really clunky, you can get away with a half size. But if it were me, I would have gone down a half size. In terms of fit, this shoe was very unique. Once I put my foot in there, I immediately noticed that there's quite a bit of padding around the top of the ankle. It's almost like they formed a circle around your ankle, and then there was a lot of room around like my actual ankle bone. It was really weird. So it's like they did a good job securing the top of the ankle, but where the ankle should be kind of enclosed and cupped, if you will, it kind of free floats almost. And so while there's security at the top around kind of your leg, your ankle, the ball of your ankle kind of just moves around a bit in there. And when I put the shoe on, I was kind of disappointed, and I thought it was going to be a big deal. But once I started running, I didn't really notice it unless I was going downhill or making kind of like a sharp turn. And then I could feel a little bit of movement in there. And so that was kind of disappointing, especially since on their website, they kind of advertise the security of your ankle in these shoes, which I thought was interesting given the fact that I didn't feel very secure in terms of what my ankle was doing inside the shoe. In terms of weight, these shoes come in at 9.4 ounces for a size 9. And that seems good, but if you look at some of the other running shoes out there, they're going down to somewhere around 6 ounces, which is absolutely crazy to me. So these are definitely not on the light side of road shoes, but they definitely didn't feel heavy on my feet. So take that for what it's worth. As far as the outsole on this shoe goes, the bottom, the grip, what I'm looking for in a road shoe is just, I don't want to slip even when I'm running on gravel, especially as you roll off the toe. And for what it's worth, I didn't slip hardly at all in this shoe. And the outsole looks like it's built to last. There's quite a bit of rubber down there, so you shouldn't run into any sort of early wear and tear in terms of the outsole. The DRX Bliss have an 8mm drop, going from 34mm in the back to 26mm in the front, which is a bit high, at least for me. And drop is very much a personal preference, but for me, especially when it comes to road running, I like to be a lot closer to 0, but that's just a personal preference. Salomon also listed these shoes as a high cushion shoe. And while they do have quite a bit of cushion, 34mm in the back, it definitely isn't a soft shoe. It almost felt rigid, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you're looking for a soft, squishy, high cushion shoe that's going to feel good on long runs, this might not be the shoe for you. As far as the upper section of this shoe goes, it is incredibly breathable, almost too breathable for winter running. I was noticing in some of the cold temperature runs in the morning that I could feel the cold air hitting my toes as I was running, and that was slightly uncomfortable, but most people are looking for a very breathable shoe for running, and these definitely check that box. Now we're getting down to something that's a little bit more subjective, like the design, the style, the look of the shoe. I actually bought these shoes because I thought they looked awesome. I think the aesthetics of this shoe are awesome. And so I figured that even if I didn't like the shoe, I could wear it around town or at the gym or somewhere else that's not necessarily running specific. And so I personally think these shoes look awesome. So in summary, overall, what would I say about this shoe? For me, I'd give this shoe somewhere around a 7 out of 10. While I don't think this shoe is perfect, I think that it would work for an average everyday run. But when it came to something like racing or even speed work, I would not trust this shoe. This would not be the shoe that I would use on race day or even to train for a race where I'm looking to PR. When I'm looking for any kind of running shoe, whether that's trail running or road running, I'm looking for a shoe that feels like an extension of my foot, that just feels good. And while these didn't feel clunky by any means, they just didn't feel like it was a part of my foot. And I don't know if it's the lack of security or solidity around my ankle that gives me that feeling that it's not a part of my foot, but there's just something about the shoe that just didn't feel like the running shoe that I would want if I was going to go try and get a PR in the marathon. And if I'm going to drop $160 on a pair of shoes, I want them to be basically perfect. With that said, I think these shoes still do have a place. For example, for me, I've started to travel quite a bit for work, and I can't sometimes justify bringing 3 pairs of shoes. And so if I needed a pair of shoes that I could justify wearing at a trade show, but also something that I could run in, then these shoes could potentially fit that category. And so what I'm trying to say is there's definitely still a use case for these shoes. And I think it's because they look so good. And so if you're looking for a pair of running shoes that look good in other situations, I think these shoes are the ones for you. So I hope that was helpful. If this was interesting and helpful and helps you decide whether or not to buy these shoes, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Yeah, when you look good, you feel good. That's the only way I feel you should. Coulda, woulda, never did it for you. Gotta do it for the love, do it for the culture. Feel it in your soul, life like a roller coaster. Got its ups and its downs, but you gotta keep going. Don't stop when you still got motion. Stay dedicated, daily devotion.